I'm at Canon with Larry, and Canon again, most years at NAB have very informative booths, theatres and lots of grade 1 monitors of different qualities, so you can really get to know where you're coming from and where you're going to. So they're probably one of the better people to ask, and talking to Larry, they seem very realistic about what's happening in high dynamic range and the production of these pictures. So let's talk to Larry a bit about the emerging standards, and specifically there's two things we want to discuss because there's amazing demonstration here. You've got to come to NAB and look at this one here. Is high dynamic range, an amazing monitor over the back here, 2000 nits.
That's correct.
The best picture I've seen in my life on a screen, easily.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. And this is at 4K. Not like the Dolby Vision's got the 2K, but this is a 4K, amazing pictures and etc. But you're doing a lot of work in high dynamic range. Can you give us a better idea of what your opinion is on that and how it's going to get to consumers and how the production side are going to tackle it going forward?
Right. Well, we're approaching it very slowly. We've been working within the ACES Technical Council for years now on all aspects of the ACES system, and of course part of that and growing now rapidly is this whole discussion of high dynamic range HDR. We're working on two ends. We've been working to try and get our cameras to deliver a higher dynamic range, and this year we have a new camera that can deliver you 15 stops, absolutely there. Then on the display front, we've been following the industry, studying the industry,
yes,
talking to an awful lot of entities and doing our own work. We entered the reference display market a year ago with our 30-inch, and this year we have a new Onset color grading monitor, 24-inch. It's 26 pounds, easily transportable, and that has a modest HDR capability in it. Modest. Typically, the standards up to now have been 100 nits as your peak white, and we've in this monitor put in about 400 nits.
Yep.
And that's as good as we can guarantee at this moment, where we are continuing our work. And behind me we have a display which is if you will, a technology report, where we're saying we're now able to get our panel and the processing to show a 2000 nits.
Yes, it's 2000 nits,
yes,
4K,
and
2020.
And yes, it has, it's able to accept 2020 color imagery,
yes,
but we have to remap that to the capability of the display,
That's
which
right,
is a little wider than P3.
Okay.
The DCI P3, the Digital Cinema P3.
Do you know, like, typically these days people are saying certain percentage of 2020. Is there a number?
We believe we're about 80% of 2020
okay, cool,
on this display.
Fantastic. That seems to be as good as it's getting on
at this
any
moment
vendor.
It seems to be.
Yeah,
and our guys have done a nice job in the LUTs, 3D LUTs, to do that mapping of 2020. We've done a lot of work in that area because in our new cameras we have a color gamut beyond 2020.
That's
we call
right,
it Canon Cinema Gamut. And that's really to offer to those who want to shoot movies primarily and may want to emulate some beloved film stock from Fuji or Kodak. We give them this real wide color gamut that now gives them the latitude in post to emulate pretty well any film stock that's out there from a color reproduction point of view. And our guys have done mapping of that, so we can look at that on this display in the P3 space.
Yes, it is. I'm very impressed with what I've seen today, especially the workflow you're showing with your new camera, the C300 Mark II.
Yes. Going
raw directly out of the SDI into your preview monitors
which debayers in the monitor.
So you basically got the raw signal going directly into the display, being seen properly at the P3 and plus sort of color levels, onset, and also the capabilities of having some wheels and jogs to quickly do up a grade and generate some CDLs.
That's correct.
And that's a really obviously it's very fast and an extremely interesting new look at the production workflow.
We've also built into our cameras and these monitors the ACES proxy system, so we can bring out a proxy. We've got the IDT in the camera. On the monitoring output, an HD SDI over to this monitor, and in the monitor it has the RRT and the ODT according to the ACES spec, proxy spec. So now they can color grade Onset in the ACES proxy space.
Wow, yeah.
So if they want to do everything in ACES, they start in the ACES
so
proxy.
You're fully on board with ACES by the way.
We're fully on board. We're very enthusiastic. There's a gentleman who is here, Joe Bogaz, who's been our member for the last 5 years. We have 2 color scientists who come over regularly for the meetings from Japan. Mr. Ishii, he's here, and they're just been embedded in it, and we're very enthusiastic about it. And I think we contributed quite a bit to the work of the Academy.
I do, but see that my issue here with this is your contribution is contributing actually. Like ACES and a lot of when I go to Simbi, etc., I see a lot of boffins sitting in rooms coming up with the best possible way to doing things as a theory.
Exactly.
Right? And that's all well and good, but the real thing is that get the workflow.
Make it practical.
That's right.
Make it practical.
Let's do it to see what it actually happens.
Yeah. Well, what's exciting about this NAB is that ACES is making its formal debut with ACES 1.0 at this NAB. So now they have a total system. It'll probably continue to have tweaks to it, but at least they got something that has had the wisdom of quite a few productions in ACES.
That's right.
A little embryonic, a little experimental, that got better, and that collective wisdom has now contributed to the final spec of 1.0.
Yes.
And we're implementing that here, and we think it's pretty good.
One thing I'd like to ask, because I really like your new screen and the capability of seeing RAW, etc. Is it possible to utilise it with other, because a lot of people already have investment in cameras, etc. Can they utilise that same sending that screen RAW from other cameras?
No, well, I won't say no. Based on the cameras that I'm familiar with, nobody has the signal in the form. We're probably the only ones that said we'll bring our raw signal out. A lot of people do it. They have their recorder coupled to the camera, and it's a special interface. Well, what we said is let's make the raw signal something that will pass over the standard 3G SDI, 7245. I can never remember the numbers. But anyway, what we do is we break down the 4K into 4 2K signals. So those 4 are carriers, 2 greens, red and a blue. They're carrying. And then we multiplex them into the RGB alpha of this SMPTE standard. So now we're transporting our raw as a SMPTE, and that can pass through any box that can accept 3G SDI. And so that's what our monitor accepts. It expects to see raw on that according to that structure. Well, and a nice thing about it is you can loop it through the monitor and send it over to a recorder.
Yes, I understand that. I understand you're leveraging the current standards and using it a little bit outside the box. It's very good. But my point being here is I think I think your idea of doing this on set is a great idea, and I'm all for adopting great ideas.
Indeed. We listen to a lot of ideas from customers. We put a waveform monitor into this display. There's a vector scope in it. There's audio level meters in it. If you connect to our camera, you can pull up signals that tell you how the camera's in either Canon log or log 2 or high dynamic range. Gives you information on the camera.
Just on that, there's amazing integration between their camera and their screen, of course. So when you do things you can actually control some things on the camera from the screen, and the other way around as well. Like, for example, killing all fans when you go into record mode, so you're fully quiet. Yes. So that sort of integration comes when you get a company like Canon building the end-to-end workflow, and there's always something to be said for that. Anyway, is there anything else you want to say before we let you go?
No, I think they're the highlights. I think that's the highlights. On the optical front, you might be interested to know we've got now the longest zoom lens in the Super 35 space, a 20:1 zoom.
Specifically, that's more important for the sport sort of coverage?
Sports, although it was primarily driven by documentarians and wildlife shooters.
Okay, yeah.
And that's where the 1000mm came from that. So we made that, and we put an extender in, which is sort of unheard of in Super 35. So that's a very interesting new lens, servo-driven, 4K,
Yep.
over the full focal range. And we're also showing our, at a prototype level, the work we've been doing for those who are interested in 2/3 inch 4K.
Oh, okay.
There's 4 camera manufacturers now who have cameras here, and we've been working with all of them and showing our fruits here of a field lens and a studio lens that will be products next year, 2/3 inch.
Well, fantastic. Well, all I can really say, Canon, it's always a booth you should come by at NAB. So I'll see you again next year. And anyway,
Hope so.
that's James Gardner, CineTechGeek, at the Canon booth at NAB 2015.